Hello students, let's start with the next concept of a fluid dynamics, that is viscosity. The viscosity means it is a kind of a opposition offered by the liquid. See, the definition of viscosity is the property of a liquid by virtue of which it opposes the relative motion between the different layers of it. It is called viscosity. That is, in fluids, when the fluid is flowing or moving, the different layers of fluids are moving in that. So, in that moving liquid, the opposition occurs in between the different layers of the liquid. That opposition is opposite to the flow of the liquid. That is the viscosity of the liquid. See, and that internal force between adjacent liquid layers in motion is called a viscous force, and that force which opposes to the motion of the liquid, that force is known as viscous force, or we can call it as a viscous drag. Let us consider here one surface, that is AB. Let AB be a solid surface which is fixed. In that solid surface there are different layers of liquids. See, first, second, third, fourth, like that the different layers of fluid are moving. So consider the layer CD. In this CD layer, this is moving with the velocity v, and it is having the distance x from the fixed layer. And just above this CD layer there is another layer EF, which is also moving with the different velocity than the belowing layer, that is v plus dv, and it is having the distance x plus dx from the fixed layer. Where this CD is also moving, EF is also moving, but both are moving with different velocities, because this CD layer is nearer to the fixed layer. In fluids, what happens when the fluid is flowing on the rough surface or a fixed surface, then the layers which are nearer to the fixed surface are in a less motion than the layers which are away from the fixed surface. See, this EF is moving with a more velocity than the layer CD here. So, the rate of change of velocity with respect to distance, that is called as velocity gradient. That is represented by the dv by dx. How much the velocity is changing with respect to the distance, that is known as velocity gradient, that is denoted by the letters dv by dx. And next we have coefficient of viscosity. See, according to the Newton's law of viscous flow, the Newton said a law, that is the tangential viscous force F acting on any layer of a liquid in motion is directly proportional to the area of the layer and the velocity gradient. According to the Newton's law of viscous flow, we are having that whatever the force or a viscous force, that is the opposition force offered by the liquid, F is directly proportional to the area of the liquid or a area of the fluid layer, and that F is inversely proportional to the, that is also proportional to the velocity gradient, that is dv by dx. So we have F is directly proportional to A into dv by dx. So to remove this proportionality constant, we have given a constant, that is F is equal to minus eta into A into dv by dx. Here this eta is known as coefficient of viscosity, that is the constant taken that is eta, is known as the coefficient of viscosity, and here we have taken the negative sign because viscous force is always opposite to that of the motion of the liquid. If the motion here, the motion is in this direction, so whatever the viscous force will be, that is in the opposite direction of the liquid flow. So that's why we have taken a negative sign here. So if we take an area of the surface as a unit 1, that is A is equal to 1, and if we take the velocity gradient dv by dx also a unit, that is equal to 1, then this equation will be F is equal to eta. Numerically we can write it as F is equal to eta. So eta is defined as that is the coefficient of viscosity is defined as the tangential viscous force acting per unit area between two liquid layers with a unit velocity gradient. This is the definition of a coefficient of viscosity, which is the force, the tangential viscous force acting per unit area between two liquid layers with the unit velocity gradient. And the SI unit for the coefficient of viscosity is Newton second per meter square, or also we can write Pascal second. And the dimensional formula for the coefficient of viscosity is m L minus 1 T minus 1. And not only by using the Newton's law, we can also have the coefficient of viscosity in other manner. That is, alternatively we can write the definition of coefficient of viscosity by taking some example. See, here we have considered the two surfaces, that is AD and BC. This AD and BC are the two solid glass planes or glass layers, this AD and BC. In this, between these two layers there is a fluid. This is the fluid layer which is having the length L. So in between these two solid glass layers there is a fluid layer is sandwiched in this, and in this both solid layers or glass layers, the AD is the fixed layer, means that AD is not moving, and this BC layer of glass is moving with the velocity v, that is in this direction. So this BC is moving with the velocity v to the right direction. So whatever the fluid sandwiched between these two, that is initially it is having the shape of A, B, C, D, and after some time delta t, when this plane starts to move, after some time delta t, the shape of the fluid layer becomes A, E, F, D, because the upper layer is moving with the velocity v to the right side. So the layers of the fluid which are in contact with the moving layer that are also starts to move. So the after some time delta t, the shape of the liquid layer becomes A, E, F, D. So here AD is fixed one and BC is moving, that's why the shape has taken A, E, F, D. So the displacement of the BC layer, here the displacement happens, B has displaced to the point E and C has displaced to the point F. So the whatever the displacement happened of this liquid layer BC in the time interval delta t is given by delta x. See, here we have denoted, that is the BE length is given by delta x, and so we can write the delta x is equal to V into delta t. That is, the displacement is equal to velocity into time, because v is the velocity with which this BC layer is moving, and in the time interval delta t we have the displacement of BC layer as delta x is equal to v into delta t. See, as this BC layer is moved, the liquid undergoes a shearing strain. See, because the AD layer is fixed, only the upper layer has moved, making some angle here, and we know that the shearing strain means the change in the angle between the lines that were originally perpendicular. Once they were perpendicular, see, this BA is perpendicular to AD and CD is perpendicular to AD, but after some time this has changed its angle. So there is a shearing strain occurred in the time delta t, that t is given by the liquid when undergoes the shearing strain in the time delta t, that is given by delta x divided by L. That is delta x divided by L, because shearing strain is equal to theta is equal to delta x divided by L. So as the liquid is moving here, because this BC layer is gone moving, so the liquid also moving. So as the liquid moves with time, shearing strain also increases with time. So the rate of change of increasing shearing strain is called shear strain, because we are having here a shearing strain during the time delta t, that is delta x divided by L. So this quantity is changing with respect to time, so that is given by shear strain. We have the shear strain as shear rate as shear strain divided by time. This has to be shear strain divided by time, that is equal to delta x divided by L whole divided by delta t, because this delta x by L is the shearing strain and delta t is the with respect to time. So we will get delta x divided by delta t into L, and we know that delta x by delta t is the velocity gradient, that is change in displacement to the time, that is velocity gradient, that is v by L. So next we have the coefficient of viscosity as eta is equal to shear stress divided by shear strain. That is, we have the shear stress as force divided by area, because stress is the force per unit area and shear stress is the force per unit area, that is F by A. While studying the last chapter, that is mechanical properties of solids, we have came across the shear stress and shear strain. So the shear stress is equal to F by A, we know that, and strain rate here we have calculated, that is V by L. So we can write eta is equal to F by A divided by V by L. That is, we can also define the eta in terms of eta, that is the coefficient of viscosity in terms of shear stress and strain rate, that is the ratio of shear stress to the strain rate is known as the coefficient of viscosity, that is denoted by the letter eta. And this viscosity of liquids decreases with increase in temperature, because here we have studied the viscosity of fluids. In fluids, both the liquids and the gases comes. So, but with respect to temperature, the behavior of liquids for the viscosity is changed, and for the gases also it is changing. That is, as the temperature increases, the viscosity of the liquids goes on decreasing. As in case of gases, as the temperature increases, the viscosity of the gases also increasing. In case of liquids, we can say the viscosity is inversely proportional to the temperature, and in case of gases, we can say the viscosity is directly proportional to the temperature. And next we have a Stokes law. The English scientist, that is Sir George G. Stokes, has showed this law. Consider here one beaker, a long beaker, and in that long beaker we have dropped a ball or a sphere which is having some radius r, and when we drop that ball, this ball, when we drop from some height to this beaker which is containing the viscous fluid. So when we drop this ball suddenly starts to move with a high velocity because of the downward pull of the gravity. It starts to move with a very high velocity, and after some time it starts to maintain its velocity with a constant one. After some time, the velocity of this sphere inside a viscous fluid will be constant. That constant velocity we are taking it as a terminal velocity, and this Stokes law is relating to the terminal velocity only. That is the viscous force. This terminal velocity is occurred in that ball. So for that ball there is a opposition from the liquid because it is a viscous fluid. So there is a viscous force applying to that sphere. So that how much viscous force is applying by that fluid to that sphere, that is given by this Stokes law. That shows that the viscous force F acting on a small sphere of radius r moving with the uniform velocity or the terminal velocity through a medium of a viscosity eta, that is given by F is equal to 6 pi eta r into V, where eta is the coefficient of viscosity, r is the radius of the sphere, V is the uniform velocity or a terminal velocity. And this equation F is equal to 6 pi eta r V, this equation gives the Stokes law, where the terminal velocity means this is the uniform or a constant velocity of the body while moving in a fluid. This is called a terminal velocity. We have seen this. When that body starts to move with a constant velocity inside the fluid, that is the terminal velocity of that material. So here we are finding out the terminal velocity of a sphere here. So consider a spherical body which is having the radius r, and here we are considering a beaker filled with the viscous fluid. In this beaker we are having a viscous fluid which is having the density sigma, and the coefficient of viscosity of that fluid is eta. For each and every fluid there is a change in coefficient of viscosity. This is the property of that fluid, not depending on the any other parameter other than the temperature. See, the coefficient of viscosity of the fluid which we are taking, that is eta, and the sphere having the radius of r, and the sphere is made up of some material, so the density of that material of the sphere we are taking it as a rho, and we dropped this ball from outside of the beaker, and it starts to move inside this beaker or in a fluid. So at first it will starts to move with a high velocity because of the downward pull of the gravity. So after some time it starts to move with a constant velocity, that is the terminal velocity. So some various forces acts on this body while it is moving through this viscous fluid. Some of the forces acts on this sphere. That forces are its weight. First one is its weight, because weight is the, we know that W is equal to mass into gravity, and there is a gravitational pull for this ball, so that will be in the downward direction. Here we have denoted W is equal to m into g, that is in the downward direction. And for this downward pull there is a opposition. For every body which is moving under a gravity having the opposition that is opposite to this W, that is the upward thrust or upward force, which is shear T. We have denoted it as a T. That T is the upward thrust or which is the force acting on this ball or a sphere, which in the opposite direction that of the downward, that is to the upward direction it is acting. And another force is also acting, that is the viscous force, because here whatever the liquid we have taken, that is a viscous liquid, and when this ball is moving inside this liquid which is associated or which is in contact with this surface of that sphere, that is also moving with the velocity. So for that velocity or for that movement of the fluid which is in contact with this surface of the sphere, there is a opposition force, that is the viscous force is acting. So that viscous force is opposite to the flow of the motion or a flow of the liquid layers. So that is in the upward direction, because this sphere is moving in a downward direction. So the liquid which is came in contact with this sphere, that is also moving in the downward direction. So whatever the viscous force applies on that sphere, that is in the opposite of that motion of the liquid, that is in the upward direction. So these three types of forces are applied on this sphere. So the net downward force acting on the body will be, the net downward force acting on the body, that will be W minus T minus F, where W is the weight of the sphere, T is the upward thrust, F is the viscous force. As body attains terminal velocity, after some time the body will get a terminal velocity or a constant velocity. Then that time whatever the viscous force will be, that is equal to the W minus T, or the net force which is acting on that body becomes 0. So W minus T minus F is equal to 0. Here we have taken the net downward force acting on that body is W minus T minus F. So when the body attains a constant velocity, that time the net force acting on that body becomes 0, because while it is moving with a constant velocity, so there is no any opposition to that motion of that sphere. So that's why only it is having a constant velocity, no? So that's why the net force acting on the body becomes 0. So W minus T minus F is equal to 0. So rearranging the terms, we will have the F is equal to W minus T. Take it as a equation number 1. and we know that, see, from this equation 1, it is the net force acting on this body. So to get the velocity or a terminal velocity of the body, now we have to find out these three forces and we have to substitute in this equation number 1. So first we are having the viscous force, that is F. We know that because while studying the Stokes law, according to the Stokes law, we can write the viscous force F is equal to 6 pi eta r v, where v is the terminal velocity. So this is the F. Take it as a equation number 2. And next we are having the weight of the sphere, that is W is equal to m into g, because it is acting in a downward direction. So W is equal to m into g. M is the mass of the sphere. We don't know the mass, but we know the volume and the density. So mass is also written as the volume into density of the sphere. So we will have the volume into density of the body or a sphere into g, that is acceleration due to gravity. Because it is a sphere, so the volume of the sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube, and we know the density of the sphere, that is rho, and into g, that is the acceleration due to gravity. So W is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube into rho into g. Take it as equation number 3. Next we have the upward thrust or a upward force. This upward force is, which is same in magnitude but opposite in direction of the motion of the sphere. So that is given as T is equal to mass into gravity, which is in a opposite direction, but mass into gravity. See, mass is written as volume into density, but in this upward thrust, this is the force applied by this fluid, or it is the force applying in opposite direction to the sphere. So we have the volume into density of the sphere, that is volume of the sphere is given by 4 by 3 pi r cube, and here the density of the fluid, because whatever the thrust it is applied, that is due to the fluid only. So the density of the fluid is sigma. Here we have taken the sigma is the density of the viscous fluid. So 4 by 3 into pi r cube into sigma into g is the upward force or upward thrust. Take it as a equation number 4. Next, substitute these three equations, that is equation number 2, 3, 4 in the equation number 1 to get a net force or a terminal velocity. Then on substituting these three equations, we will have 6 pi eta rv is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube rho g minus 4 by 3 pi r cube sigma into g. On simplifying these equations, we will get v is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube g bracket rho minus sigma into 1 divided by 6 pi eta r, and on simplifying this step, we will get the terminal velocity Vt is equal to 2 by 9 r square divided by eta into rho minus sigma into g, and this is the expression for a terminal velocity of this spherical body. And from this equation we can write that the terminal velocity is directly proportional to the square of the radius, and it is inversely proportional to the coefficient of viscosity of the fluid. As the radius increases, radius of the sphere increases, the terminal velocity also increases, and as the coefficient of viscosity increases, the terminal velocity decreases.